It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Founded by men of many nations and backgrounds.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
One. Doom Nation, what's going on? We are back today. I am in the captain's quarters. Skaggs is in the shack in the back, and you are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. Thank you for joining us. Skaggs, what's up, bud?
Not much. We're doing remote today because I had to wake up for work at 5. I did not want to be driving back from your house that late. And we are also
We're in
going
the
to be doing
Class 5
review.
hurricane.
Yeah, that too. As usual, anytime we do a podcast, it's the end of the world, weather-wise.
This country is doomed.
Yeah, I'll make sure I play that before the episode starts. But, let's get back to it. We got a lot to talk about as usual. I think it's time for us to put Afghanistan to a close. We haven't gotten really to talk much about the end there. We've had a couple like weird episodes where we didn't really get to talk about it. I wanted to touch on tweets by Dave Smith and Ben Shapiro and the idea of American exceptionalism. I also wanted to talk about the NYC key to the city and the Excelsior Pass. We have a personal story to tell you guys that is interesting regarding the vaccine passports in New York. I want to talk about ivermectin, and it's
the show just got canceled.
Yes, so we'll get into that later. It's not against the rules to just say the name, but I want to bring up ivermectin and something going on social media right now regarding that. And Cap, you got some things you want to talk about?
Yeah, the hypocrisy of the Texas heartbeat bill that is going on right now has social media ablaze. And then I'm also pretty much done with Afghanistan. The only real sad part about this is like the second that news cycle turns from Afghanistan and there's really nothing going on, it's just going to be full-blown COVID ahead. We're going to go right back to the COVID headlines.
Yeah, I did see that they're already they're talking about the Mu variant, Mu variant or whatever. So something to keep an eye on coming forward. But let's close out Afghanistan here, right? I mean, are we really closing it out? Yeah, I guess, but not really. I'm sure something else will happen. So I wanted to start off with you think we're pulling out a receipt here from our St. Patrick's Day episode where we said that we didn't believe the war would be over, right? Because we haven't really talked about it, right? The last soldiers, boots on the ground, have been pulled out, but there was that attack that killed 13 of them and a whole bunch of Afghanistan civilians. ISIS-K, the Delta variant of ISIS.
Yeah, the special K version of ISIS.
Yeah, they claimed responsibility. Biden struck back and blew up 2 of them. And
with a bunch of children.
Well, I think there was 2 strikes, right? There was one against the guys who planned the attack, right? We have no information whatsoever on their names or anything. The whole thing could be made up in my opinion.
We don't even know if they're dead or not, or if it even were real people.
We're just going here based on the word of the government, which is very trustworthy. And then the other airstrike, which killed I believe 9 people, most of which were women, children, non-combatants, and has been the problem with all these wars in the Middle East from the beginning. You do all these drone strikes end up killing more civilians and whatnot than combatants or even enemies. And that creates more terrorists because all those people are pissed off that you murdered their fucking family and their children. So I don't know. I feel like maybe we do pull the receipt, right? Because the last ground troop left, but it seems like they're just going to wage another air campaign against ISIS-K in Afghanistan. And what is the Taliban going to do about that? Really fucking nothing. And at the same time, does that mean, just because the last uniformed boot on the ground left, does that mean all the CIA spooks and the undercover guys really are not there anymore?
Yeah. The beautiful part about a receipt is we get to hold on to it for as long as we want.
True.
I know we said we were going to go back to it at September 11th because that was when Joe Biden's deadline was. I don't know, because the way the CIA works, the way our government works, the way this administration works, you put it pretty perfectly. Just because there's no boots on the ground, does that mean it's really over? I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if, for theatrical purposes, for the media's purpose, that the war in Afghanistan is done. But this is 2021. We're not, this isn't World War II, where our greatest piece of military technology is a tank or the atom bomb and stuff like that. We now can probably wage war with no men on the ground very easily, and we'll never know about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could still be moving chess pieces around the board and taking control of what they need to take control of. And even if we're not doing it, we left all that equipment with the Taliban. What's the CIA to drop off a couple of pallets of cash, go take those tanks, blow up, ISIS K, then go party with ISIS J, so I think we should hold on to the receipt a little bit longer, because right now, I think for all intents and purposes in the media, the war is done. But that still doesn't mean something's not going to come down the pipeline where we go right back to war, whether it happens over there or, once again, which is super funny, we allow anybody unvetted across the Mexican border. Now we've taken in more Afghanistan refugees than Americans. We brought more Afghanistans to America than Americans.
Yeah, but is that because there was more of them though that wanted to come?
Yes.
I think the original number was what, 15,000 Americans,
right?
I mean, and apparently they took almost all of them, a couple hundred or maybe left behind. So
fine,
if there was, but I'm saying,
the fact that there are more Afghanistans here and a few Americans left behind, and that non-citizens got those seats and that ride out of that country than our own people, is inexcusable, 100% impeachable offense. So there's still people over there. I agree. Yeah, there definitely is. I don't know the logistics of trying to get those few people left out. Right.
But I agree. Right.
But my point is, we brought all these people over here now, which is fine. They're refugees. I have nothing against people of Afghanistan descent or anything like that. But a large number of unvetted people come here. Now, what happens when or if there's another terrorist attack? Did we just bring the next bombing here? You know what I mean? What's
I think
somebody attacks us and now we have another reason to go back over there?
That's true. Obviously, I think they should vet the people that they brought over here, which most of them apparently are people who worked with us over in Afghanistan, right? So there's got to be some sort of documentation, passports, papers. What do we have the FBI, the CIA, the DHS? What do we have all these agencies for if they can't vet people? You know what I mean? I don't think we should have any of them, those agencies. But if make yourselves useful while you exist.
But isn't it so funny that we Democrats and the liberals that vote for them, as America, we open open arms from the Mexican border. Please come over. No borders, open borders, come through. All the refugees welcome with open arms. Cuba, do not come. Do not come. The only
people, that was Guatemala, right? Yeah. No. Well, it was Cuba too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do not come was, I think,
when
Guatemala,
No, you're right. I was just,
but you're right. But they said the same thing to Cuba. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, don't come here. It's amazing that people who aren't going to vote Democrat don't come here. Don't come here. People who they believe can turn into another vote for them. Come on, 1 million of you, 2 million of you. Come on in. Let's go. Let's go. Bring them in.
Yeah. Is that a strategy by the Democrats?
100% it is.
Right?
No, I'm not even going to say.
I'm just saying.
No speculation from me.
Yeah. Going back to war before we were talking about too, like this brings up the question, like, what even is war? Is the war really over if they continue to just wage an air campaign against certain groups in Afghanistan? No, you're using bombers and drones and dropping missiles and blowing up people. Isn't that war? It doesn't matter if you don't have a boot on the ground or not. I mean, great. It's great that there's not boots on the ground anymore. But if you're still bombing people and blowing shit up, that means the war is still ongoing, And I wanted to make the point that, let's not forget that there's still troops in Iraq, in Syria, and in Africa. They're consistently carrying out airstrikes against al-Shabaab in Somalia. They've been waging a quiet war in the northern part of Africa for a few years now. I'm not sure if you're even aware of that. That was something that Scott Horton.
I knew Somalia, but not like
they
all
took
of North Africa's in a war.
All of that is still going on. Libya they intervened in, and then don't forget Saudi Arabia is waging war in Yemen, basically a genocide, just blowing people up. We're funding that. We're giving the arms to Saudi Arabia, and let's not forget Israel bombing Palestine all the time. Right? We spoke about that on the Iron Dome episode. Those are our weapons, our money that's propping up Israel. So maybe we aren't the ones pushing the buttons, but we're giving them the buttons to push all around the region. So like you took boots out of Afghanistan in one area, but the fight to end all these wars continues.
There's no money to be made if there was no war going on. Right. I would really like to see what these military contracts come out to be, just the amount of zeros at the bottom line, because that's all this is. The only reason we're supplying Saudi Arabia to go bomb one nation, and we're supplying another nation to go bomb another nation, is because of these military contracts are worth billions upon billions. These military contracts could probably pay for the debt we owe China and the nation's debt within a year flat.
Yeah, well, we spend $760 billion per year, and it gets more and more every year. And every year, you know what I mean? I think we made the point before is like, we don't think they should spend as much money as they do in general, but shit, how about a year you cut back a little bit and fix the
one
fucking
year's
roads?
500, the next year's 600, the following year's 400. We can make it work.
Why don't we? Right, 1 year we just pay for maintaining the ships and the tanks. We don't need any new shit. This year we'll fix all the roads in America. But that's a problem with government. They're inefficient, they're corrupt, they're cronies.
That's what I was going to say, though. What we could very well be witnessing right now is the government creates the problem so they can present themselves as the solution.
Yes.
We are creating another problem in Afghanistan, and who's going to be the fucking solution?
The government. Yeah, right. More troops, more war, more pockets lined.
Eventually, somewhere down the line, it might not be September 11th like we had our receipt plan for, but somewhere down the line, when everybody forgets about this horrendous pullout, people could definitely forget about it. A problem's going to arise, and we're going to magically have a solution, and it's going to be us, and we're going to have to raise taxes to pay for it. It's going to be the same playbook.
And I hope people are just aware now, and I'm not very confident that they are, right? And I think this will bring me into the next topic, which is
before we go into that, saying we're not. I saw people literally defending and promoting fact checkers on whether or not service dogs were really left behind in Afghanistan or not. Like, this is what,
Yeah, I did see that too, but go ahead, talk about that.
You know what I mean? Like, what straws are you grasping at? Just say your supreme leader did a bad job and move on to the next job. You know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, just take the lump on the chin and keep it fucking moving.
Yeah. So the dogs, you're right. I think the military came out and said that no, those are not military dogs, that there were dogs from the Kabul animal shelter. I didn't even know Kabul had an animal shelter. And that there weren't military dogs left behind. They were like the Kabul ones. And, that was like private people's dogs that they just couldn't take, or the shelters dogs or whatever. You believe that or not? You know what I mean? Forget about even the fact checkers. The fact checkers are just regurgitating what the military brass is saying. So, it's up to the eye of the beholder to believe that or not. One thing I do know is probably fake was the video of the helicopter hanging the guy. He was not being hung. He had one of the white Taliban flags in his hand. This is how inefficient the Taliban are. They're trying to hang a flag on a building top by dropping a guy from a helicopter onto the top of the building. So that was
they're not the brightest out there. Exactly.
So but let's get into the next topic, right? Which is Dave and Ben. I posted this on our Instagram, and we actually got a good turnout in votes. But I posted this as an exchange between Ben Shapiro and Dave Smith. So I'll read it out. I'll post it on the screen for you. Ben Shapiro tweeted, America is faced with a choice. Do we acknowledge what we, the greatest power in world history, complete with the obligation to defend our interests, or do we sink into a warm bath, eat ourselves into morbid obesity with deficits and welfare spending, and wait for China? So Dave Smith replies to that, and he goes, America is faced with a choice. Acknowledge what we are, an empire and a dying one. We can continue this murder/suicide mission, or we can stop. We were never supposed to be an empire, and there is no law saying that we have to be one. I put that up to a vote for who the Doom Nation think had the better take, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And 52% voted for Dave, 48% voted for Ben. So it's really close. It was only, I think, a difference of actually one vote. A decent amount of people voted, almost like 40 people voted. That's like a high
record
for our Instagram polls. I have my thoughts on this, which I'll save, but I wanted to pick your brain, Cap. I know you didn't vote, right? So when I saw you didn't vote, I was like, good, I'll include this in the episode, and I could see what you thunk.
I'm kind of torn right down the middle with this, because I feel there's some things that they said were right and some things that they said were wrong. I have it right here on my phone right now. When I feel like people voted yes for Ben Shapiro, because do we sink into the warm bath, eat ourselves into morbid obesity with deficits and welfare spending, and wait for China? I kind of feel like that's what we are doing. The fact that we're not out there protesting, look, whether you didn't like Trump, you don't like Biden, during both presidencies, you had the right to protest. You had the right to have your voice be heard. So if you really didn't like Trump, then why weren't there a million people walking down the street saying we don't like Trump? Biden, the administration, effed up Afghanistan, effed up the border. Vaccine mandates are through the roof. If you don't like all this, we, the people, are stronger. We need to be protesting. We need to have our voice heard. We need to apply pressure, because we outnumber them. They need to listen to us, but we're not doing that. So technically, we are slipping into this warm bath of obesity and just waiting for China. But on the other side, I do agree with Dave Smith that, we should just stop this. We can. But that's the problem. It's not designed to be stopped. This is what it's turned into. So the thing that I disagree with him is we were never supposed to be an empire. Not that our founding fathers wanted us to be an empire, but somewhere along the line, when we'll say the New World Order or the establishment got involved, or the birth of this corruption that we see what it's turned into now, that was the plan, to become an empire. And now we're crumbling. But I'm in agreement with both that, yes, we should just stop trying to be an empire and worry about ourselves as a country, because we'd be able to fix ourselves relatively quickly, I believe, if we were able to, solve this, great divide. But also, we, the people, are just waiting for China, basically. People aren't protesting. No one is being held accountable. You know what I mean? So that's why I really didn't vote, because I'm torn. They're both great statements and both great points.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a pretty good point. You had a perfect response, honestly, I thought.
Thank you.
I think you have a point. They are kind of right, both right. I think with Ben, because this is Dave responding to Ben. So I think what Dave is trying to get out here, and what he's pointing out Ben is saying, Ben is almost kind of defending the whole military industrial complex, interventionalism, the globalist agenda, right?
Yeah, he's already agreeing that we've succumbed to this agenda.
Right. And I like both guys, don't get me wrong. I think they're both smart, but I do think Ben Shapiro is a little bit of a war hawk sometimes.
I'll tell you, as much as I like Ben Shapiro, and when I got into politics and found him, I liked him. When we got into the podcast, I used him as references. But always, and I think even James from We the People Radio said this, that he believes Ben Shapiro might be controlled opposition. I've never been able to determine like where, like, is Ben Shapiro a hack or is he a, a white hat? I've never, my mind's made up on like Bill Gates. You know what I mean? Everybody knows how I feel about Bill Gates. I've never been able to decide what side of the fence, like, of espionage of where Ben falls. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the key, part of Ben's statement here is where he says the obligation to defend our interests. What interests? What interests do me and you have in anything going on anywhere else in the world right now? Yeah. My interest is in the United States of America, my community, our people, within our own borders. And, this. So I want to also mention, I'm not trying to be anti-Semitic or anything like that, but I think Ben Shapiro, when he talks about our interests, is also talking about Israel. He's a Jewish. He's very pro-Israel, and he wants to see Israel continue to be propped up by the United States, which I think is wrong. Right? It's not our job to prop up any one country against whatever, regardless. Yep. So, I think that's a little bit of a negative on Ben there. But I wanted to talk about like the notion of American exceptionalism, which this is really kind of a debate between the two of them on. Are you familiar with that at all?
Throw me a definition. We'll see how much
American exceptionalism is the idea that the United States is inherently different from other nations. Its proponents argue that the values, political system, and historical development of the U.S. are unique in human history, often with the implication that the country is both destined and entitled to play a distinct and positive role on the world stage. So that is the definition of American exceptionalism.
That's bullshit, because I don't like it because it's on the world stage.
Right. So and that's what Ben Shapiro is kind of defending here or playing up, that American exceptionalism. And when you hear that word, when you hear exceptionalism, you think of like America is the, we the best, America, number one country in all the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I feel like that can easily be co-opted into defending, we have to do this in Afghanistan. We have to go in here and, we have to war hawk against China because we can't let those communists. I want people to be wary of, talking points from guys like Ben Shapiro, where they take like American exceptionalism too far. My opinion is like America should be the shining beacon on the hill, not the empire forcing our beliefs on the rest of the world, or trying to, like shape the world in our image. No, we do what we do here. We set the example and other countries will follow, or they won't. Not our business.
Yeah, the whole policing action. I mean, like I stated, like my father was in Vietnam, and that was a big policing action. He lost friends. He lost people that, he made these deep relationships with over a police action.
Right.
And was it worth those men dying? No, not a single bit. Was it worth leaving Vietnam with men still in cages? No, it wasn't. So I think in the fact that, it's a very true statement that America's unique in its development and there's nothing, but that's 100% true. But, we've only been around for 200 some odd years. You can't say we're the shining idea when other nationalities and other nations have had centuries upon centuries of heritage, like someplace like Japan or China. You know what I mean? We're talking about how many hundreds of thousands of years has that culture been in place?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
But what I'm saying is, like, to say that our new idea in the history of the timeline is this, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I just laughed because of the timeline. I immediately thought Loki.
Yes. That our idea is the one that needs to correct a billion-year-old problem that China's been having. You know what I mean? Like, let China be.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to go around the world and force our opinions by any means. But also, I feel like that's kind of like an old statement. Yes, at one point in time, America was the best. I still think, if we fall, there's nowhere left to go. So we do hold a title of being the best place to be. But there was certainly a several decade time span where we were the shining star, the beacon on the hill. But I think now to force our opinions and our ideology on other nations is a terrible idea, because look at we're two idiots. We're not experts. We repeatedly tell people we're not experts. We are calling out government corruption before it even unfolds. If we're figuring this out, world leaders are light years ahead of us. So to say that we need to go over to another country and present our idea that they need to take over, not anymore. No, who wants this shit? Who wants the Biden administration in their little hometown that just got the internet yesterday? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. You know, I tend to lean with Dave on this, right? And Ben is kind of defending that idea of exceptionalism. But like I said, my point is that to be wary of that being used to justify interventions,
another war,
war, right? And then, you know, like I know, dude, I'm sorry, but I know conservatives, some of them are burned because we lost a war. You know what I mean? And you know, a lot of them. I remember when Biden did the first retaliatory strike against ISIS-K. A lot of the pages, like the typical liberal, and some of the other like conservative pages were like, "Yeah, get some." You know, we got our revenge and whatever. It's like, no, you're like cheering on more intervention. You know, a month ago you guys were anti-war. Now you're cheering on more intervention.
That's how easy the tides turn. You know.
Yeah.
I was trying to tell your cousin, because he's been talking to me about it. I was like, because I think he asked me something along the lines of like, shouldn't we go back there and bomb them and stuff? And I was like, me personally, like, yeah, I want to like go send like a big FU message to the Taliban, who now has all of our equipment and stuff, and send them a big FU. But no, like, the contractors are just going to make more money. Like, you're doomed if you do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like, just don't, and let's just get out of there. The contractors make less, well, are potentially or on paper going to make less money. You know what I mean? Like, I'd just take that option. The only thing still to me that I will never get over is the fact we left Americans, and for the first time ever, the U.S. government was ahead of schedule by 24 hours. They left on August 30th, not even August 31st. This is the first time in the history of my entire life that the government was ahead of schedule. You want to tell me a bigger bullshit story? Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, that's weird on its own, you know? Why? You know, because it wasn't supposed to be 9/11. I guess the situation, negotiations with the Taliban got changed to 31st. Yeah. I don't know.
But we were out the 30th, you know.
Right. I mean, right.
Stay
they were
the
even
extra
one
24
day ahead
hours.
Of that.
Yeah. How, for the first time ever, we're a day ahead of schedule.
You know what? I bet you know, the bombing, regardless of what it was, who it was, what happened, pushed up the timeline, because like we better get the fuck out of here before something else happens and we look even worse. You know,
well, not until after U.S. soldiers clean the bathrooms at the airport. You know.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah. All right, let's move on, man. I think we that's it for Afghanistan for now. You know, we'll obviously keep an eye on it, but I think we've committed like 3 or 4 episodes to
we even had an episode on someone else's podcast about Afghanistan.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
at this point,
you know what though, it was a historical, monumental moment. Like, you know, that's going to be in the history books. It's not like when we just talk about like a budget plan or whatever other random news story. Like, no, this was a moment in history, like the Capitol riot, like 9/11. This was, you know what I mean? Like, this is going to show up in a U.S. history textbook somewhere. So
it won't be accurate, but it'll show up in a textbook.
Of course not. All
when our kids are coming home from school and they're doing their history homework, we're going to sit back and be like, whoa, Biden wasn't the hero. I was there.
Right.
I could tell you Biden wasn't the hero.
Hey, we'll tell them to go to our YouTube channel and just look back, you know, a couple hundred episodes. The record will be there. We'll stand, hopefully, if we don't get banned by then. All right. Do you want me to go on to my next topic? Do you want to throw one of yours in there?
Well, I only really have one big topic because we kind of, you know, aligned with our topics right now is so today is September 1st, and I think it goes into effect today, or it was just passed today, is the Texas heartbeat bill. So in the state of Texas, you can, I believe it's being upheld that now you can no longer abort a baby after 6 weeks or well, whatever, once a heartbeat is detected.
Yes, I think that's the rule.
Okay, so you could get an abortion up to until a heartbeat is detected. So first and foremost, all the screaming liberals on social media and all the headline news across mainstream media, you are wrong in saying Texas has banned abortion. Also, I'm going to go out there and say, this is me coming from, I'm pro-choice. I believe you are too.
Yeah.
I do not, in the grand scheme of things, my opinion on what a woman should do with her unborn or, her unborn child is, my opinion on her life choices mean absolutely zilch. So am I for this heartbeat bill in Texas? No, I'm not. Do I agree with what goes on in New York, where you can, your due date could be the 2nd and you could get an abortion on the 1st? No, I think that's horrendous. I believe there should be some type of timeline, but it's, once again, it's not up to me to decide that timeline. I don't know anything about, fetal growth and stuff like that when there's a heartbeat and stuff. So I stay out of it. But I have enjoyed social media today. Every blue, lefty, progressive, liberal, my body, my choice, my body, my choice. You're banning abortion. First off, none of these people live in Texas. So why they care is way beyond me. Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to be like lobbying for out of your locality,
Yeah.
like death, baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just weird.
Kill babies in the state I don't live. Like, what I mean? Just
Right.
like when people
Let
were
the people
mad
live
when,
there.
Yeah.
Right. Hash it out.
Like when Ron DeSantis lifted the mask mandates early on, and everybody was like, that's it, Florida's done. Florida. What do you care? You live in California. You can't be any further from Florida. Who gives a shit? So whatever, I digress. What I really want to point out is, to all the lefty nut jobs who are all for mandatory vaccines, you should be round up and shot if you don't want to get a vaccine. You're not doing your patriotic duty, blah, 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 with the vaccines, comply. Just change the words abortion bill to mandatory vaccines, and now you have the perspective of everyone who is leery about getting the vaccine. Now you have the perspective of everyone who doesn't like the idea of these vaccines being mandatory. All we want is free choice. All we want is the same choice that these women want, whether they can or cannot abort their babies. You know what I mean? Whether you think it's a disgusting act or not, that's fine. But they are given the choice, right, to choose their path. That's all the people who don't want the vaccine. That's all they're asking for. We just want the choice, the same exact choice as these women have.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because I was looking at a tweet earlier that I replied to, and it goes right up into what you're saying. And this is from our good friend, Brooklyn Dad Defiant. You know him. He's one of our buddies. He tweeted, "Good morning and happy hump." This was today. "Good morning and happy hump day to everyone except the American Taliban in Texas, who have just made a woman's right to choose and control her own body illegal. If you're not furious, you're not paying attention." And someone else, some random person underneath, commented, "They yell, 'My body, my choice,' when it comes to a vaccine or a mask, but it doesn't apply when a woman wants to choose. Hypocrisy at its finest." And then I replied underneath it, "Actually, it does," right? It does apply to both. And, I don't understand where people are making that connection. Maybe it doesn't. Everybody's an individual at the end of the day, right? I'm sure there are people who are completely against abortion, but they're saying that they should be pro-choice for taking the vaccine. But me and we're pro-choice for both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I went to the protest in Manhattan against the vaccine passport, the mandates and etc., that was one of the main themes of everybody who got up on that stage and spoke. They were like, we are pro-choice for, getting a vaccine, and we're pro-choice also for abortions. I think I told you a lot of the people who were there were vegans. You think they're pro-choice? Of course they are.
Yeah.
Most of them I would assume are.
Go ahead. So if you check out our story, probably by the time it'll probably be gone by the time, but I posted on our story. It was a picture of Jim Halpert from The Office with a shocked face, and says, when you realize that allowing the government to do whatever you want to the people you don't like means they can do the same thing to you later. Yeah. Here it effing is. New York is doing, and we're going to get into the passport, is doing, the key to the city passport. You can only be a member of the city if you're vaccinated. But everybody who, the media associates unvaccinated people and anti-vaxxers with the Republican Party. So everyone on the left who's happy to get the vaccine points the finger, haha, you can't come into the restaurant, haha, you can't come into the restaurant. Yeah, well, now Texas, you can't get an abortion.
Right. You don't like that, right? They don't like that. So
now, see, you allowed the government to do whatever it wants.
Yeah.
We allowed the New York City government to kick all of us out of the restaurants. And now we're going to allow the Texas government to not let people get abortions. That's how it's a double-edged sword. And until people realize this, you're not going to make it anywhere.
Do you see the problem with conservatives and liberals? They both want to control the ring of power, right? And bend it to their will. And it
throw it into Mount Doom. Yep.
Right. Instead, it should be thrown into Mount Doom, which is what the libertarians want to do. And we're not going to get involved in anything. Everybody does as they please. Yeah. If you are conservative and you are against abortion, you don't got to get an abortion. You know what I mean? But if you're a liberal and something happens and you want to get an abortion, that's your business, not the conservative person's business. The conservative person can make sure that whatever women that they knock up does not get an abortion, because that's your own personal business. Although I do think, I don't know the details of the heart bill, but I do think what you said before is right. They do need to figure out, there has to be a cutoff, obviously, right? Like if your due date is tomorrow and the day before you're like, I'm going to get an abortion. I don't know about that.
You're allowed to do that in New York.
But I don't know the details. But I'm just saying, there needs to be a clear line drawn in the sand where at this exact time, it's no longer moral, because this is as someone who has a baby on the way, it's not, there has to be a line drawn, right? And just looking at it, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But just looking at it logically, maybe the heartbeat is the right place to start it at, right? Because, like I said, you got a girl on the way. When I heard her heartbeat, it was awesome. It was like a life-changing moment. And when you think about it, when do they pronounce you dead? When your heart stops. Yeah. Right. So isn't it logical you kind of start being fully alive when your heart starts, and you stop being fully alive when your heart stops? But again, I don't know who would even determine that. I have no idea.
The Ministry of Truth. Yeah. The Ministry of Truth.
Ministry of Truth. Yeah.
This is where the disease of liberalism comes in. Because if you look at the eviction thing that was going on, the whole point of this is people just don't want to pay. So we should just keep extending the rent eviction, thing forever and ever. So nobody ever has to pay to live in their apartment ever again. That, that's the liberal viewpoint of it.
Yeah.
So you transfer the liberal viewpoint over to it. If you gave it to them the way they wanted, you could probably just show up to the hospital with your 3-year-old child and be like, abort this, and they just start killing children. They are going to have it up to the due date, because we have to have, what I mean?
Yeah,
isn't it amazing how liberalism went from we don't want war to, I want to be able to kill my baby the day before it's born.
Well, yeah. I mean, they also want war now in order to, they want war to protect, gender equality and whatnot.
Yes.
They're the militant progressives, put it that way.
Yeah. It's funny you said something about the Brooklyn dad, who
real quick, follow Defiant L's on Twitter. If you guys do Nation, it's a guy, or it's a page that has specifically dedicated itself to posting his L's. So when he says something and then later on he says something that's completely contradictory, whoever's running that page is on the fucking money, and they find it and they post it, and they post a funny background behind it. It's great. He also does
try and have that guy on.
I got it. Yeah, we should reach out and try and figure that out.
Brooklyn Dad had one about Candace Owens getting COVID and how he doesn't give a fuck. And then in the hashtags, he did hashtag Me Too and hashtag BLM.
Right.
Here is a woman
Yeah.
Yes, here's a black woman. So Black Lives Matter, but her Black life doesn't matter. Me Too movement, he doesn't give a fuck about her when you're supposed to care and protect, women.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the guy is completely
Yeah.
delusional.
Well, he's a paid shill of the DNC. They paid him $30,000 last year. Check that out. So he's completely fake and phony. He's just a grifter. I don't want to contribute any more time to him.
No.
Let's move on to ivermectin. And I'm going to give you the YouTube disclaimer here. I am not a doctor. I'm not giving any medical advice, and ivermectin is not FDA approved to treat COVID-19 at all. So I'm just going to be talking in general about ivermectin. And what I noticed lately on social media is that there's been a campaign, right? Like a meme campaign, people posting some of those those like bot posts where they say the same thing over and over again. And this campaign is essentially trying to smear ivermectin, making it synonymous with horse dewormer only. And that is flat out false, right? Ivermectin, again, is not approved for use in treating COVID-19 by the FDA, but ivermectin tablets are approved at very specific doses for some parasitic worms in humans, as well as topical treatments for head lice and skin conditions like rosacea. You can even buy it on Amazon with a prescription. I'm going to bring it up right here on the screen, being that we're on Zoom. One sec. You see that, Cap?
Yeah, now I can.
So Amazon has a pharmacy. If you have a doctor and they write you a prescription, you can get stuff on Amazon Pharmacy. And what can you get? Ivermectin tablets. Ivermectin is an anti-infective. It is used to treat infections of some parasites, not COVID-19. Hey Doom Nation, it's Gags here, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Two Doom Men. If you like what we are about, help us spread the message by subscribing to our channels and sharing the show with your friends. That's the best way we can get around big tech's algorithms. You can also help support the work we do by subscribing to our Patreon account at patreon.com/2doommen or by going to linktree.com/2doommen. That will bring you to everywhere our show has a presence. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the show.
This country is doomed. It is doomed.
So this is suspicious, right? I mean, the way I think of it is like it could be used for animals and humans, horses and humans, right? And this is not the only drug that can be used for both. I remember my dog Mimi used to take prednisone to help with her skin issues. You remember Mimi had a million skin issues, right? And humans also take prednisone for like if they have like suppressed immune systems, things like that. There's a million different reasons why your doctor might prescribe prednisone for you. So ivermectin is not the only drug that can be used for both. Is there a social media campaign about prednisone and people saying, you're taking dog steroids? No, there isn't. There's only one for ivermectin. And that's mad sus to me, dude. It's this COVID cult, right? And for whatever reason, they've deemed ivermectin the enemy of my religion. And
because
how
then it would
dare
go
you,
against their tool of God.
right? How dare you blaspheme? So now we are going to spread misinformation about ivermectin, trying to portray it as only a horse dewormer, which it is. Again, it is not FDA approved for COVID-19. And an interesting thing I've seen on all these posts is they hashtag death cult when it comes to ivermectin, and the horse.
And there's
dewormer.
the bots calling card.
Yes. And the funniest part of that is the iron law of woke projection. The cultists are saying that everyone who believes in ivermectin is in a cult.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. I have no comment because if I say what I want to say, YouTube's going to rip this page right down.
Yeah.
So I'm to all our listeners who have been listening, I'm sure you already know what I want to say. It's us for a reason. We're over the target. It only gets suppressed when it's too truthful.
Hey, you could go watch episode, I forget which one it was, extremist content on Rumble. I think we talked about ivermectin and the rest of it there.
I mean,
but yeah, my point goes beyond even that. It's just that It's not only a horse dewormer.
Yeah,
I could go to Tractor Supply
right
and buy
there,
it. Yeah, but
yeah.
that's not the only reason it exists. It is for use in humans for certain things, not COVID, though.
That right there is medical misinformation.
Yes, but it's not
It's
flagged.
Rules for me, but not for thee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the justification is going to be that, dumb people are going to go to Tractor Supply and buy horse dewormer and eat it. I'm sure they are. I'm sure some dumb people are. You know what I mean? But that's what dumb people do. They do dumb shit all the time. When I learned about ivermectin and I saw that it was in Tractor Supply, did I say, I'm going to go to Tractor Supply and buy ivermectin? No, I'm not a fucking doctor. I don't know how to I'm going to dose myself up with a drug that I don't know jack shit about. Even if I do believe it has some sort of benefit for something, the fuck do I know? But if you're going to go do that, that's your fucking fault. You know what I mean? I'm sure it says it on the bottle. Don't drink this or don't take this. If you don't read it, then you fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to go deeper into it, but I'm going to go down the rabbit hole and it's just going to get us in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go on to the NYC situation.
Good old de Blasio.
Yeah. And the first thing I'm gonna bring up is
can I make my point of something that I realized about the key to the city, the only key I don't fucking want.
Oh boy, you're coming in a little glitchy. What if the storm is starting to affect us? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could hear it pounding outside.
Yeah, low system resources may affect your audio quality. Try closing some applications. Oh boy,
I don't have any other applications open. Am I good? Okay. So what people need to realize here is I don't think it's outside the realm, it's outside of the guidelines to say that it's truthful. Even if you are fully vaccinated, 2 jabs or the Johnson & Johnson, you can still get sick and spread. You could still contract COVID and you could still spread COVID. I'm pretty sure me and you agree on that. We've seen it in the news. I don't know if YouTube is going to allow that. We're not experts here.
Yes, we're not scientists. We're not doctors. We're just spitballing.
Yes, from what I understand, like all those Democrats that ran out of Texas to go to Washington were fully vaccinated, and a bunch of them, like 6 of them, got COVID. So you need the vaccine passport to go to restaurants and bars and this and that in the city of New York. I just had COVID a few weeks back. That's why we were doing remote podcasts and doomed reviews and stuff like that. Now I have the antibodies. Just a week or so ago, I tested negative for COVID. As of right now, I am 99% sure I do not have COVID, and therefore I cannot spread COVID. Can I get it again? Yes, I can. I will not disagree with that. But I'm not allowed into a restaurant, in New York City, where someone who is fully vaccinated could have COVID and can get into that restaurant and can spread it to everyone in that restaurant. The passport's not keeping anyone safe. It's just rewarding those who comply.
Yeah. And theoretically, if you are vaccinated, you are already given some protection from the virus, right? So the only people who would be at real risk are the unvaccinated in the restaurant. And they made
there is no unvaccinated.
But I'm saying if you allowed them in, it would only really be them at risk. And they decided they were comfortable with that risk. So what do you give a shit that?
Oh, dude, I tried to explain that to someone. I'm not going to get into who it was. I admit, I'll tell you off air, whatever. But, they asked me, are you vaccinated? And I said, nope. And I said, once they made it mandatory, I became a patriot and did what patriots had to do. And he started telling me about all his friends who are dying from COVID and have been in the hospital. Every time I see this guy, he knows another 3 people who's been in the hospital because of COVID. Starting to believe he's just flat out lying. But, and he's going on and on about how you need this, you need it. It's your duty. It's no one's duty to get this vaccine. You know what I mean? If you have antibodies, it's proven you're immune for a certain amount of time.
They don't care about that though.
Yeah, no. And it got to the point where I'm trying to explain, like, I accepted my responsibility. I got sick. I quarantined. I did what I had to do until I was no longer sick. I felt terrible that I got a good friend sick. You know, I sent him a care package and stuff. They quarantine too.
But just send him a sentry turret.
I sent him a 6-pack of beer.
All right.
And you know, and he just couldn't like accept that, like, no, I am accepting the responsibility. It got to the point where it was like, I'd rather get COVID and spread it to everyone and kill everyone. Like, just like, you know what I mean? Like, I just had to be like, nope, I'm to the point I'd rather infect you all and kill you all, because it ain't going to make my life different. You know, I had to go to such extremes for this guy to be like, oh, I guess you've taken a different path than me, huh? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like just, I had to scream at him like, no, I'll kill your whole family with COVID before I follow you. You know, like, fuck it.
Yeah,
this is the only way you're going to understand it. You think that if I get it, I'm going to spread it to 1 million people and kill them. I want to kill those 1 million people.
You did the Eminem, right? I am whatever you say I am.
Yeah.
So that's the only. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You're not going to believe or listen to anything I have to say.
If you're saying I'm a murderer, I'm a stone cold murderer. I hope I stack bodies to the ceiling.
Yeah, I get it. Interesting. I was having a connection issue before. It was the article that I was trying to bring up here to show you guys about the NYC dining thing. And it was the article that our buddy Jerry sent us this morning about New York City. You only need apparently one shot you only need proof of one shot to get into the restaurants, right? So yeah, that's not following the science because you're not fully protected. So it's like you said before, it's just about conforming. It's just about comply or else, you know, that's not scientific at all, that rule.
I'm not saying don't get the vaccine, but give me a break at some point. When do you, like, even if you're fully vaccinated, and there are fully vaccinated people out there who are against mandates, you know what I mean? That they understand that they took their free choice to get
many
the
of
vaccine,
them at the protest, yes,
and that you don't need to get it if you don't want it. And that's really, I think you posted a story on our podcast the other day where it was like, I got my vaccine because I think it's going to save people, and I really like it. The guy says cool, and then the other guy who says cool goes, I'm not getting the vaccine because I don't trust the government and I don't think it's going to help, blah, blah, blah. And then they both go, cool. That's all this conversation is. I had to argue with this guy and say, yeah, I'm a murderer. I'd rather be a fucking murderer. You know what I mean? Like, this is all the conversation should be. Like, oh, you chose a different, you know what I mean? Like, I drive a red Toyota. You drive a blue Chevy. Should we be at each other's throats because I didn't buy a blue Chevy? You know, like,
no, we shouldn't. Right. Yeah. But you're right. This is a weird thing. It's this whole situation has shown that a lot of Americans have a tendency towards authoritarianism that we didn't know that they really have, but they do apparently, you know, at least maybe half of the country does. And they don't even realize it. I think most of them, but it's there. And when you look back, you know, on history, it makes sense how Hitler was able to get away with the things he did, and other evil, you know, emperors or whatever were able to get away with things because, you know, they spin it as for the public health, for the public good, you know. So I always love seeing the meme. If you ever wondered whether you would be on Hitler's side and turn over the Jews, now you know. Right. Yeah. Now you know. If you think unvaccinated people should be lined up and shot, guess which side you're on in World War II? You Nazi? And, you know, I see plenty of people posting things like that on Twitter, calling for actions like that against the unvaccinated. So it's not like it's not like me and you were being alarmists or, you know, I'm going to use the SpongeBob, you know, sarcastic meme here. You know, no, there's people who say crazy shit like that. I don't know if they're grifting. I don't, you know, whatever, but people say shit like you just said. You know, that, you know, they should be exterminated, whatever. Australia is building fucking quarantine camps, you know, concentration camps, right? Is AOC going to call those concentration camps? No, because they're the government on her side, you know, they're you know, that's her wielding the ring. So no problem. Those are not. My favorite line over the past couple of weeks have been, never in the history of the world has any of the good guys ever mandated anything to their people. You know what I mean? Like, it's always been a free choice. Yeah. You know, free choice, individual liberty, property, self-determination, everything that the Libertarian Party stands for, dude. That's the right way to live. Like I even, the more I've looked into this stuff, I'm like becoming more of like an anarchist capitalist, because if you're an anarchist capitalist, it's like private property rights above all else. Like on my land, I could do whatever I want, and I can't tell you what to do. I can't aggress against you, but I could defend myself. To the point where even in like an anarchist capitalist society, there's room for communism. If you and 10, 20, 30 other people want to be communists and you want to go like create a little commune, God bless. Good luck. Enjoy living that sort of lifestyle. I don't care. However, you just can't come on my property, tell me what to do anything towards me. I think that's the best way everybody could live, because you could go over there and do some crazy shit, and I can stay over here and do some crazy shit. And I don't tell you what to do. You don't tell me what to do.
I always said, if like the swamp was to be drained and we were to find some like utopian America and stuff like that, I would really hope that like becoming an isolationist would like come back. Like, okay, good. I'm going to go buy 50 acres. I'm going to hunt it as much as I want. I'm going to fish it as much as I want. I'm going to collect rainwater, which if me and you were to put barrels outside right now and collect rainwater, we would get fined for it, because it is illegal to collect rainwater because there's no fluoride in it. But anyway, you could go collect rainwater. You could grow your crops. At the beginning of the lockdowns last year, you were allowed to go shop at Walmart, but you weren't allowed to go buy seeds. Remember that whole little story that was going on where they were locking up? I would much rather, if we were to find some new utopia, much rather have my own homestead, self-sustainable, natural homestead, and just, I'm here, you're there, cool, stay over there.
Yeah, I agree. I hate the word utopia though, because I feel like they're not possible to achieve. People are too. It's not like human nature.
What other word is there?
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying, like even like, I guess because communists want like a utopia, and I guess you could say like an anarchist capitalist society is also utopia. Both are not like achievable and realistically. It's not like in human nature. But the best we could strive for is to like fix the system we have and like make the government as small as possible, not to interfere, and just kind of leave us alone. And we'll figure out how we want to live on our own. Let me get back to, we kind of went off the rails there a little bit, but let me give you a little story here about a friend of ours. I'm not going to name any names out of respect for them. And this friend of ours is double vaccinated, and they live in New York City, and they applied to get the New York State Excelsior Pass, which is basically the vaccine passport for New York State, similar to the key to NYC. There's multiple versions of vaccine passports in New York State. That's how I'm excited for this. New York State is. They need this Excelsior Pass because they have an event at the Bronx Zoo coming up for work, and in order to get into Bronx Zoo, you need one of these vaccine passports to get in. So, going to get this Excelsior Pass, because of some sort of error in the documentation or paperwork on this person's immunization record. Apparently it only said the first shot was administered to this person, right? Where they got both. And so the state only considers him to have gotten one shot, not two, and denying this person the Excelsior Pass. This person also lost their original vaccination card. So now, you know what I mean? You're up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. You lost your vaccination card. You got vaccinated. You did your part. But because of like a bureaucracy documentation error at the hospital, you can't get the Excelsior Pass. I'm sure would apply the same way for the key to NYC. In order to clear this up, this person had to reach out to the hospital where he was vaccinated and had to escalate this all the way up to the vice president of the hospital. So eventually, after going through all these hoops, the hospital is going to mail him new paperwork with proof of the two vaccinations. He'll then have to send it to the state all over again. This is just to go to the Bronx Zoo for a work event. I mean, how insane is that? And how much of an expose is that on like the bigger government gets,
Yeah.
the more fucked everything is. They ruin everything. They get in the way of everything. They make everyone's life more complicated. Someone who's been vaccinated. That's it.
Yeah.
Point. Full stop. Is now having to, escalate on the phone to fucking vice presidents because of all this shit. Come on. For something, it's a work-related thing too. It's not even like, for fucking shits and giggles.
Are we not surprised that a normal tax-paying American citizen is getting fucked because of a clerical error? Right. You know what I mean?
And it's not even the clerical error's fault. It's the fucking government's fault for enacting these, these rules and restrictions on everything.
And what do you think is going to happen when someplace like New York or California starts saying, no, we need the booster shot. If you're not triple vaccinated, we don't consider you to be vaccinated. What we try to purvey is this is the slipperiest of slopes to be on.
Yeah, it's a muddy hill.
Look, you took your free choice and you got vaccinated. Good for you. But how far are you willing to take it? You know what I mean? How many hoops are you going to jump through? What happens when you go for the paperwork and they realize you're not, they say, oh, we don't think you're double vaccinated. So they show up at your door to arrest you or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could get to that eventually. That's, how Australia's right there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so imagine this happened in Australia. The police would be at his door questioning him. How come you've been out and about saying you're double vaccinated when right here? You know what I mean? Who are they?
Right. And then what are you supposed to do? Get injected again to prove it to them?
And then get a booster shot and get it the fourth time now.
Right.
And when it comes to something like that, who are they going to believe? The Joe Schmo sitting at home on his couch,
right,
or the government official who said, no, this is the paperwork. It says only one.
Yep. It's crazy, dude. That's it. I wanted to give a real life story of how this makes no sense.
Let's read it again. When you realize that allowing the government to do whatever they want to people you don't like means they can do the same thing to you later.
Yeah. And dude, I know they're close to, recommending, or if they didn't already, I don't know, the booster shot every 5 months. And look, even if I did decide to get vaccinated, I don't know about, if I decided to get vaccinated once, I've gotten all the other vaccinations I've had to in my life, so even if I decide to get the COVID vaccine, the one time, I'm not getting fucking shots every 5 months.
Yeah.
Injections. Every 5 months for the rest of my life. I've never done that before for anything. I'm not going to just all of a sudden start shooting up with this stuff every 5 months. No.
Yeah.
Even if I decide to get it one time, that is not happening for me personally. Again, if you want to do that, go right ahead. You have every right to do so. Yeah. I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but I'm just saying my own personal opinion. I'm not going to, get dosed up every 5 months.
Yeah.
After I did the original dose.
Yeah, I think that's where the establishment's really going to lose a lot of people, because there's plenty of people out there who just stone cold don't want the vaccine, but then there's plenty of people out there who are vaccinated who are like, no, I did my part. I got my 2. You made me put the masks back on. You made me get the passport. I'm not going for a boost. You know what I mean? There will be a time with every booster shot or next new thing you need. I really think they're just going to lose more people.
Well, yeah, people will join the freedom aspect of this then, the more they force on people.
Because for all the people who are willing to comply, what they really need to think about, though, is how far am I willing to go with this compliance? You know what I mean? When is it that, you've done your part? When do you feel like you've done your part? You know what I mean?
How many it's justs do we need to hear? It's just 15 days. It's just a mask. It's just this. It's just that. It's just. If you just do this, we'll go back to It's just eternity,
And it's crazy to think some people are they're not moving the goalpost. When have they ever moved the goalpost?
Yep. All right, man. I think that's it. We had a pretty good conversation today, even though it was over the Zoom, I have to say. And we are going to do a doomed review after this also. So busy night
to
do What If. Real quick, before you sign us off, I want to give a shout out to my paisan, Nick. He gave me this Made in Calabria t-shirt. Follow them on Instagram, made in Calabria _Italy. Good
There
stuff.
we go. Calabria is a great place.
Yep.
All right, Doom Nation, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. The subscribe button's right there at the bottom of the screen. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Two Doom Men podcast. We appreciate you guys, and we hope to see you guys again next week. Check out our upcoming Doom reviews of Marvel's What If. Peace out.
Later.